Good morning, and thank you for being here today. I am Alan Johnson, and I serve as Lieutenant over the GPD Traffic Division, which includes our collision reconstruction team. This morning, I'm going to release the findings of the September 18th collision on North Pleasantburg Drive that left a 13-year-old student with life-threatening injuries. At the end of these remarks, I'll also provide an update on the child's condition and prognosis. I'll begin with a brief overview of the events leading up to the collision. I'll highlight GPD's initial response to the collision scene, our preliminary information gathering, and the investigation by the Traffic Reconstruction Unit. This led to the department determining a 56-year-old man from Taylor's was the primary aggressor in this road rage incident. On the morning of September 18, 2019, at approximately 7 o'clock a.m., the GPD Communications Center received several 911 calls regarding a vehicle collision with injuries at North Pleasantburg Drive and Mallory Street. The Greenville City Fire Department, Greenville County EMS, and Greenville Police Department units were immediately dispatched to the scene. Greenville City Fire Department personnel were the first units to arrive and began rendering aid to the driver of the 2003 Chrysler PT Cruiser and the 13-year-old victim who was laying on the road unresponsive. A Good Samaritan started rendering life-saving measures to the child before first responders arrived. It is hard to know what may have happened and this individual not jumped in for the child's sake. But I'll take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank that person who cared enough to stop and help. It made an enormous difference. At approximately 7:06 a.m., the first Greenville police units arrived on scene. Due to the serious nature of the injuries, our collision reconstruction team responded to the scene to begin their investigation. The team quickly learned that the PT Cruiser, driven by 56-year-old Norman Earl Gardner Jr., and another vehicle, reportedly a silver sedan, appeared to have been involved in some type of road rage incident just prior to the vehicle collision. These aggressive actions contributed to Mr. Gardner losing control of his vehicle and crossing two southbound lanes of traffic on North Pleasantburg Drive. Mr. Gardner's vehicle then struck the curb, causing it to go onto the sidewalk, striking the 13-year-old victim. Mr. Gardner's vehicle then continued across the sidewalk and hit a telephone pole, snapping it in half. The PT Cruiser came to a final rest a short distance away on North Pleasantburg Drive, just before Mallory Street. The Traffic Reconstruction Unit determined that prior to Gardner losing control of his vehicle, he was traveling at approximately 75 miles per hour. That is 30 miles an hour over the posted speed limit during rush hour traffic. Initial witnesses told officers that the other vehicle, a light-colored sedan, may have made contact with the PT Cruiser, then slowed down following the collision before driving away from the scene. Hours after the collision, the driver of the other vehicle involved in this incident contacted investigating officers after hearing about media reports of the accidents from coworkers. Our investigators interviewed him and conducted an inspection of his vehicle. The driver fully cooperated with the investigation and provided critical missing pieces of the events. From this, investigators determined that the driver observed Gardner's PT Cruiser lose control and collide with the curb. The driver of the sedan did not see or know at the time that the PT Cruiser hit the 13-year-old victim and telephone pole. He simply thought he had just struck the curb. Coworkers informed him that the victim was critically injured. A vehicle inspection of his vehicle revealed no damage, therefore he made no contact with the PT Cruiser. In light of this information, witness interviews, and other evidence, we concluded that the PT Cruiser and sedan were initially involved in an incident in which the PT Cruiser had cut off the sedan when attempting to get into the left turn lane on Rutherford Road, just before North Pleasantburg Drive. The driver of the sedan then blew his horn at the PT Cruiser. Both vehicles then turned left on a North Pleasantburg Drive from Rutherford Road. The driver of the PT Cruiser then began driving aggressively to catch up with the sedan. At one point during this incident, the PT Cruiser got behind the sedan in the middle lane and then quickly changed lanes to the left and accelerated hard to pass the sedan. Having just barely cleared the front of the sedan, the PT Cruiser quickly attempted to change lanes back to the right to get in front of the sedan. It is at this time Gardner lost control of his vehicle, resulting in the collision. Our investigation found the PT Cruiser sedan never made contact, and the collision is a direct result of Mr. Gardner's traveling at a high rate of speed and driving aggressively. Because of his actions, Gardner was arrested and charged with reckless driving on September 24th and placed into the Greenville County Detention Center. Gardner was released from jail on a personal recognizance bond on September 25th and was given a court date to appear in Greenville Municipal Court on October 17, 2019 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our investigation into this collision is complete, and our thoughts continue to remain with the victim and his family. At this time, I'll provide an update on the victim, 13-year-old Welford Hallens, who suffered critical injuries. We spoke to his family, and they permitted us to share some details, which include an injury to his brain, to include bleeding, broken back, pelvis, wrist, and both kneecaps. He also sustained multiple fractured bones in his neck and has cracked ribs. There is no estimated time frame as to when he will be discharged, but doctors say Welford's recovery time is expected to be at least 1 year. At this time, I'll take some questions.
Is he still in critical, or is he stable?
From our understanding, he's still in critical condition.
Can you just talk a little bit about just road rage incidents in general, why people really need to be aware of how they're driving on the roads and not drive aggressively in this type of way, because of what we see here can happen?
Sure. I'll talk about road rage and road rage. If you're in a situation where you've been cut off accidentally by somebody, and you start to feel your temper flare and you start to get mad, the best advice we can give is pull off to the side of the road, take a deep breath, calm down. After you've calmed down, then get back on the road and continue to drive. If you don't, and you get into a rage situation where something like this can happen, or worse, you can kill somebody. So we just ask that you kind of think about that while you're driving. There's a lot of cars on the road, so you just got to be patient.
And you guys find that the driver of the light color sedan didn't do anything?
From our investigation, as I read here, I mean, there was no damage to his vehicle, and he didn't violate any laws at all. That's correct.
Is there something that that person can do to maybe release the tension of a road rage incident? Or
I'm sorry, which person are you referring to?
The person in the light color sedan. Should that person maybe pull over, or
if you notice somebody who's in a road rage and it's targeted at you, the best advice we can give you is try and pull off the road in a safe spot. Call 911, let us know what's going on, but don't get yourself involved with that road rage incident. It can just make things a whole lot worse. So I think this driver did correct. He didn't try and antagonize that driver any further, so he did what he thought was best.
Can you tell us anything more that the family may have shared with you about Welford and who he is?
What the family shared with us yesterday on the condition is what I have at this time.
I would imagine they're pretty shaken up about all of this.
I would imagine so, yes. That's correct.
The person who rendered, the Good Samaritan who rendered aid at the scene, what did they do, if you know? And is that an easy thing to learn, and can other people basically become a first responder?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure of the details of the aid that he rendered, but I can say, you initially don't have to be trained. If you see something that you feel you can help out with, by all means, stop and help. This guy, we appreciate him greatly for helping out this 13-year-old. We're not sure what he did made a difference, but I could tell you, in my eyes, I think it did. And I think what he did was truly amazing, and we appreciate it.
You may not be able to talk about this, but can you tell us anything about how the 8-year-old girl who witnessed this is doing at this point?
I don't have any comments on that.
What's it like to come up on a scene like that?
Personally, as a police officer, anytime we go to a crime scene or collision investigation where there's great bodily injury or death, it's tough. It's tough for us. It's tough for those involved. When you're talking about a 13-year-old child, it makes that much more tougher. We've got to push our personal emotions aside, and we have to do our job. But it does. Especially when you have kids of your own, it kind of hits home.
When it comes to speed, 30 miles per hour over, with that included, just how dangerous is it to go that fast?
It's extremely dangerous. You're talking a 6-lane highway where the speed limit's 45 during rush hour traffic, and the amount of traffic that travels along that roadway every day, it's extremely dangerous. And as you can see, what his actions caused him to lose control of his car and unfortunately injure a 13-year-old child.
Did Gardner express any remorse for, kind of acting the way he did on the road after learning the consequences of his actions?
I wasn't there when they interviewed him, so I can't say for certain on that.
Can you clarify again? So the road rage started at Rutherford, and you said he crossed 2 lanes?
Yeah, the
so
incident...
they're headed the same way, like this is where the incident...
Right, the incident initially started at Rutherford Road, just before Pleasantburg Drive, and then as they turned left onto Pleasantburg Drive, going south, if you would, towards Wade Hampton. It was after that when it continued, and then the suspect
he went
vehicle.
off toward the right.
Yeah, he lost control from the, I guess the best way to describe it is from the lane closest to the median, and then went across 2 lanes of traffic.
Guys, we got time for a couple more questions if you have.
Was Gardner injured at all in this?
He sustained minor injuries.
Are you aware of any past charges or serious traffic charges against?
His driving record was clear when we looked at it.
All right, guys, we thank you very much.
Do we have a mugshot of Gardner?
Yes, I'm going to share that out with you guys.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
And can we get you real quick just to say and spell your name for us and give
Sure,
us your position?
sure. It's Lieutenant Alan, A-L-A-N, Johnson, J-O-H-N-S-O-N, and I'm the lieutenant over our traffic division. Thank you.
Guys, let me know when y'all stop.